This short tale, though brief, is packed with profound wisdom that, once understood, can benefit one for a lifetime. There was a king who loved to debate and go on tours with the Prime Minister. One day, the king went hunting in the forest and shot a leopard. As the king dismounted to retrieve the leopard, it mustered its last strength and lunged at the king, biting off his little finger. The king called his Prime Minister to drink away his sorrows, but the Prime Minister merely smiled and reassured him, "Everything happens for the best." This angered the king. "If I put you in jail, would that also be for the best?" The Prime Minister smiled and replied, "If so, I firmly believe it would be for the best." Furious, the king ordered the Prime Minister to be imprisoned. A month later, the king, healed from his injury, ventured out alone. He came to a remote forest where he was suddenly ambushed by a group of indigenous people who bound him and took him back to their tribe. The primitive tribe in the mountains would descend to find sacrifices for their gods whenever the moon was full. The indigenous people were preparing to burn the king alive. Just as the king was losing hope, the priest suddenly looked terrified. He noticed that the king's little finger was missing a portion, making him an imperfect sacrifice. Receiving such a sacrifice would anger their gods, so the indigenous people chose to release the king. Overjoyed, the king returned to his palace and released the Prime Minister. He said to the Prime Minister with immense admiration, "You were absolutely right. Everything indeed happens for the best. If I hadn't been bitten by the leopard, I would have lost my life today." The king suddenly thought of something and asked the Prime Minister, "But how do you explain your unjust imprisonment for over a month?" The Prime Minister calmly replied, "If I hadn't been in jail at the time, I would have been accompanying you on your journey. When the indigenous people found that you were unsuitable for the sacrifice, wouldn't it have been my turn?" The king couldn't help but laugh, saying, "Indeed, everything happens for the best." James 1:2-4 says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." When things don't go our way, we shouldn't be upset or despondent, and certainly not short-sighted. Keep your vision broad, don't wallow in self-pity, and never blame others. Always strive optimistically. Believe that the sky is the limit, and all we have to do is to do well. God bless you.